On the night of November 22nd, 1987, viewers in Chicago were watching television as usual when something completely bizarre happened. Without warning, the normal broadcast was interrupted. The screen changed. A strange figure appeared wearing a rubber mask that looked like Max Headroom, one of the most recognizable television characters of the 1980s. Behind the figure was a spinning metal background. The audio was distorted. The person moved strangely, spoke in a mocking voice, and delivered a short, chaotic performance that made almost no sense. Then the signal disappeared. For most viewers, it lasted only a few seconds. But that was only the beginning. Later that same night, another television station was interrupted. This time, the hijacking lasted much longer. The same masked figure appeared again, performing an even stranger sequence. The person made bizarre comments, held up objects, moved around in front of the camera, and seemed to be deliberately mocking the television industry. The second interruption lasted roughly a minute and a half before the original program returned. And somehow, the people responsible were never officially identified. The incident became known as the Max Headroom signal hijacking, and more than 3 decades later, it remains one of the strangest unsolved mysteries in television history. To understand why this was such a serious event, you have to remember how television worked in the 1980s. There was no streaming, no social media, no easy way for a random person to suddenly appear on millions of screens. Television signals were controlled by large stations using specialized broadcast equipment. Interrupting one of those signals required technical knowledge, powerful equipment, and very precise timing. The first interruption happened during a sports broadcast on WGN-TV. Viewers suddenly saw the Max Headroom figure appear on screen. The intrusion lasted around 25 seconds. There was almost no understandable audio. Engineers at the station quickly regained control. They were confused, but the problem appeared to be over. It wasn't. A few hours later, PBS station WTTW was broadcasting an episode of Doctor Who. Then the signal was interrupted again. This second hijacking was much clearer and much more disturbing. The masked figure appeared in front of a rotating metal panel, similar to the background used in real Max Headroom broadcasts. The person made strange comments, laughed, complained about television personalities, and referenced several companies and programs. At one point, the person removed part of the costume and exposed their backside while another unidentified person hit them with what appeared to be a fly swatter. Then the transmission abruptly ended. Doctor Who returned as if nothing had happened. But everyone watching had just witnessed something completely unprecedented. Someone had successfully taken control of a television signal twice in one night. The FBI and the Federal Communications Commission became involved in the investigation. Authorities wanted to know who had done it, and perhaps even more importantly, how. Investigators believed the hijackers probably used microwave transmission equipment. Many television stations at the time received studio feeds through microwave links. If someone could transmit a stronger signal on the correct frequency and from the right location, they could potentially override the legitimate broadcast. But that would not have been easy. The people responsible would have needed technical knowledge, specialized equipment, and an understanding of where the receiving antennas were located. They also would have needed to act quickly. The first hijacking failed after only seconds because station engineers were able to change the frequency of their microwave link. The second station, however, was not able to immediately stop the intrusion because there was no engineer on duty at the transmission site. That gave the hijackers enough time to complete their strange performance. This detail suggests that the incident may not have been random. The person responsible may have understood how the stations operated. They may have known which frequencies to target. And they may have specifically chosen a moment when one station would be more vulnerable. That possibility has fueled speculation for decades. Some people believe the hijackers were television engineers or technicians. Others think they may have been employees or former employees of one of the stations. Another theory is that they were part of the underground hacker and phone phreaking culture that existed during the 1980s. These communities were fascinated by communication systems, telephone networks, radio signals, and ways to manipulate technology. But despite years of speculation, there has never been definitive proof linking any specific person to the incident. And if you enjoy mysteries like this, where technology, strange behavior, and unanswered questions all collide, make sure to subscribe to Dark Discovery. And if there's another mystery you think we should cover next, leave it in the comments. Some of the best stories are the ones most people have completely forgotten. Over the years, several people have claimed to know who was behind the Max Headroom incident. Internet forums have produced detailed theories. Anonymous users have claimed that the broadcast was created by a small group of technically skilled friends. Some stories even describe specific locations where the video may have been recorded. But almost every theory has the same problem. There is no solid evidence. The original video itself provides very few clues. The person is wearing a full mask. The background is simple. The voice is distorted. The room is barely visible. Even the person operating the camera never appears. Investigators reportedly examined the footage carefully, but there was nothing obvious that could identify the location or the people involved. And because consumer video equipment in 1987 produced relatively low-quality footage, forensic analysis was extremely limited compared to what investigators can do today. The timing also worked in the hijacker's favor. There were no smartphones, no social media posts showing suspicious equipment, no widespread security cameras recording vehicles or people moving through the city. The people involved could simply pack up their equipment and disappear. And apparently, that is exactly what they did. The motive remains just as mysterious as the identities. The broadcast did not contain a clear political message. There was no demand for money. There was no attempt to promote a product. The hijackers did not identify themselves. Instead, the video feels almost like a strange performance created simply because someone wanted to prove that they could take control of a television station. That may actually be the most likely explanation. In the 1980s, television was one of the most powerful forms of media in the world. Millions of people trusted that whatever appeared on their television screen had been intentionally broadcast by a network. The Max Headroom incident shattered that assumption. For a brief moment, someone outside the system had taken control, and they used that control not to deliver a serious message, but to create something confusing, absurd, and unforgettable. The choice of Max Headroom may also have been intentional. The character himself was a satire of television and corporate media. Max Headroom appeared as an artificial television personality with exaggerated movements and a digital-looking background. By using that character during a real television hijacking, the intruders may have been making a joke about the media itself. Or maybe they simply thought the mask looked funny. There is no way to know. After the incident, authorities warned that signal hijacking was a serious federal crime. The people responsible could have faced large fines and potentially prison time. Yet nobody was arrested. Nobody publicly confessed with evidence that could be verified, and the case eventually went cold. What makes the Max Headroom hijacking so fascinating today is how difficult it would be to recreate the same feeling. Modern broadcasting systems are far more secure. Digital signals, encryption, monitoring systems, and network infrastructure make this kind of direct signal takeover much more difficult. And even if someone did manage to interrupt a broadcast today, the event would instantly appear on social media from hundreds of different angles. People would analyze every frame. Internet investigators would search for clues. Security cameras could reveal movements near transmission sites. Modern technology has made it much harder to completely disappear. But in 1987, the conditions were different. The technology was advanced enough to allow someone with the right knowledge to hijack a television signal. But the world was not yet connected enough to easily identify them afterward. That created the perfect environment for a mystery. 2 television stations. One night, a strange masked figure, a bizarre performance, and a group of people who apparently understood broadcasting technology well enough to temporarily take control of the airwaves. Then they vanished. More than 30 years later, we still do not know exactly who they were. We do not know where the video was recorded. We do not know what equipment they used. And we do not know whether the incident was a carefully planned statement, an elaborate prank, or simply a group of technically skilled people testing the limits of what they could do. Somewhere, the people responsible may still be alive. They may have watched the mystery grow over the decades. They may have seen documentaries, articles, and online discussions trying to identify them. And they may know that one of the strangest moments in television history exists because of something they did for less than 2 minutes on a cold night in Chicago. For everyone else, the Max Headroom hijacking remains exactly what it was when it first appeared on television in 1987. Unexpected, unexplained, and completely strange.